Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about Imperius, showing some gameplay. I decided to do a couple games, and honestly, none of them came out that great. So normally I'd take pieces from all of them. In this case, I figure I'll just give you guys a short little glimpse, as we're going to be seeing him release pretty soon anyways, so you'll be able to play him in about a week. So I decided to go with this skin mount Skinergy, which I think is a pretty cool one. He's got a nice golden color followed by the gold mount. So I just thought that was pretty neat, but that's unimportant for most people. So the build I was planning on going is kind of the one I explained in the video, the last video I brought out with Imperius, where I go the Consuming Flame, which gives me the larger stun. What I found was very impactful, I guess, or at least very efficient, is to use his CC to follow up any other mobility command or any command that had a slight cast time or delay. And if you see, it happens quite often where I'm able to charge in right at the right time to land everything. After someone uses another ability. So we saw Imperius already use his slide, and then he started walking away, and it was easy for me to use mine, as I didn't have any way to get out of this. From there, you can see I immediately turned on my E as I charged in to deal extra damage to these two different targets, and my team decides to follow up pretty quickly after I get all that damage off. I use my W immediately after I use my Q, just to get the damage on whoever's trying to run away, and I believe we kill Ariel there with one of the zombies that tagged them. It was pretty good. Then I immediately start deciding which lane I'm going to be going into, as I'm going to be solo laning, but I'm also the main tank, so it's going to be a little bit challenging for me because they have 3 possible people who can solo lane, and then 1 person as their main tank. While, in all honesty, I only have maybe 1 or 2 people on my team that could solo lane, but none of them really should solo lane. So, one of the things I need to practice for sure is landing my W and getting those stacks a lot faster. You can see I don't even go for the vision here. I don't want to miss out on any experience, so I charge up to lane as fast as possible, grab the globes, and immediately use my W down the lane. His wave clear is really, really bad, so you're going to see that I try my best to see how fast I can clear a wave, and I learned that really the only thing you can do to speed up a wave is by firing off a Solarian's fire as the wave's coming down, and then 1 more Solarian's fire a little bit later into the fight. So that's essentially the best that I could say for trying to handle his wave clear. Level 7, you see I do end up picking up Holy Fervor, and that really answers any of the wave clear problems I had earlier, but then I do also have to use an 18-second cooldown, which is effectively a 22-second cooldown. I'll explain why when we get up to it. One thing that you'll notice that right there I used my Q, which then simply missed because it has a minimum range. So what I decide to do later when you see me start taking fights in melee range, you'll see that I'll take a step back and then I'll charge in. You're going to see me do that a few times, so I learned that pretty early on that I did it wrong and I need to change it around how I do it later. You can see I immediately start going back up to top lane. After we couldn't get a kill there, I didn't want to fight that close to the turret, so I decided to just head back up and go back to wave clear. And it will seem like I'm just kind of in the waves a lot more than I should be, but if you really think about it, I'm getting soaked that the enemy team is not getting, so it's better than nothing, and it ends up adding up quite a bit. As you'll see, my experience contribution starts getting way higher than the enemies as the game goes on, as I keep costing them wave after wave of experience, and then I still try to join my team whenever I can. So, for example, we have a fight that's going to be happening soon. The team's getting mad because I'm always split from the team, but every time I go up like that, the enemies miss out on soak. You can see one of the things that I don't do to immediately engage is use my Q. While he's on his mount, it's very easy for him to avoid things, so I just kind of step up, do some damage, and then I might take a step back and then use my Q. So instead of taking a step back, I let him walk away from me. Now at level 4, he should be able to beat me, as all he needs to do is pick up Die Alone, which he didn't pick up, and I didn't actually notice it that game. I just assumed he picked up Die Alone. I use my charge. One thing that you'll also notice in this game is that the Q hit detection is pretty forgiving, I guess is the best way to explain it. You can miss a Q pretty easily and still land it. So right there is what I was explaining. I took a step back up in this direction and then used my Q at max range, which allowed me to hit this person at an angle that was, one, more favorable for me, two, I didn't need to worry about the minimum range issue that I had earlier. Once again, I head back up to top lane as my team goes for some of the other objectives, and after we've gotten a bunch of kills, I figured they don't really need me. So I head up here, I wait for my nuke to charge while I start just dealing some damage, do a W through the wave, and once my nukes charge, you'll see me step up and nuke this. And I'll take a step back, and I'm going to try to clear this wave as fast as possible. But you can see I don't really use any of my other abilities on waves. It's just, there's really nothing else to speed up your wave clear until 7. So I start heading back down to join my team as I see that there's kind of a scuffle down here at this objective. And I grab the vision this time before heading down. And we have quite a bit of a fight that happens here. I charge into the Ariel. It took me too long to set up my E. Now I will explain that I was trying to test something a little bit later in this, where I would use my E a little bit late so that I could get more auto attacks off. So I could get that 30% more damage multiple times with the E. And then I can use the fire to slow them down, the E to stick, like the fire to stick with them, the E to increase my auto attack damage, and then get multiple strikes off. But the problem is against targets that have CC, it's much better to just CC them and immediately use your E for damage. And again, I need to practice my W. I explained that earlier in this, that my W is where I miss a lot of shots. And I could get my quest done a lot faster. Another thing that I don't do very well is when I have my E running, I don't auto attack enough, as you can trigger your auto attack like 5 or 6 times during an E, which is something I really don't do. I'm pretty good at using my Q for mobility to get out, but overall, there's a lot more I could be doing. When I get to 7, I do pick up Holy Fervor. You'll see me use it a few times in team fights, but generally I don't use it outside of just wave clear. Once again, I know we've got this nuke, so I decide to just head straight back up to top lane. Am I wrong? Oh no, we go for a kill on Probius. We get a kill on Probius. Let me lock the, there we go. So I head back up to top lane as we already won the objective. We won the nuke, then we just gave them the nuke. But, you know, it's funny that it placed it right back on that point. You can see I used my swipe. Do a bit there, and I'm waiting for the cooldown to come back. The swipe cleared up the first wave. Now the second wave is going to take me a little bit to deal with, but I didn't really want to join my team here because I wanted to cost a lot of experience of the enemies. I've already costed them half a wave, and I'm going to be costing them another full wave when we get up there. But instead, my team continues to fight over this objective, so I decide to head down and see if I can't help them out with something. So I charge in, use my E, and then get the extra damage needed to kill the Probius. Head back in and go for the Ariel next. And then I swap over to the Malthael as he's pretty low health. Back onto the, onto the Malthael once again. I take a step back. Oh, yeah. I thought that was... There's another time where something similar like that happens, and I take a step back before using my Q. And then I use my Q to finish her off. And the W starts getting to be a lot of damage if you can hit them in the center. It's a pretty incredible amount of damage. So I'm costing them a lot of experience up top, decide to go down bot lane and push this out. But I see the what's her name, Sylvanas. There's no chance for me to be able to deal with that. So I decide to just back. I head back up top, and when I get top, the one issue that I find about Holy Fervor is that it doesn't go on cooldown until you've done all 4 attacks. So I actually made a mistake here because my Holy Fervor has 1 attack left. So I only get to use 1 attack here as a swipe, and all the rest I have to wait for the cooldown to go all the way through the 18 seconds again, which is actually really frustrating. So overall, it's kind of annoying the way that Holy Fervor works, but I still think it's the best talent. It's just going to take a lot of practice. Some of the other talents have more burst, but overall, I just think it's generally better. There we go. You can see the swipes. Now I want to make sure that I get the rest of the swipes off, so I'm going to go up and attack this. The other cool thing is that his E does a lot of single target damage, so if you position yourself to only hit 1 turret, then it can actually do quite a lot. As W starts doing a lot to waves if you can just get it in that angle every time. You can see I'm really trying to use everything here to speed up the wave clear, just because I want to make sure that this wave is dying to structures. And again, I'm using my E as the single target damage is pretty high. Decide to leave and go grab the nuke. So you can see the XP contribution. I'm staying away from my team, and I'm only really entering fights whenever there's objectives, and I'm helping out a lot, but this is how you should be playing him, as a solo laner, not necessarily as a tank. In this game, I am supposed to be a tank. I just didn't want to miss out on that much experience. So again, use my Q. We actually didn't need a Pyroblast there, but the Pyroblast still went on full cooldown. I end up going with the Angelic Armaments shield. I really like this a lot because it's such a low cooldown, and if they do enough damage to break it, that means that that's a lot of health that they're not using on someone else, and a lot of health that they're using on a temporary shield. So that's why I really like that ability. I just think it's really strong, and if they don't use it, then you can pretty much do a whole lot of damage to one person. I will say that I don't use it very much this game, and I probably could use it a lot more. Kind of just jumped in there to scare him off. He feels like, on paper, all of his abilities seem very, very basic. And again, I want to show you the Holy Fervor really quick. So I activate Holy Fervor, and now I swipe all of these minions at the same time. You can see how his wave clear is much better when you have that Holy Fervor, that level 7 talent. So I do think that talent's a must if you're going to be putting him in the solo lane. If you're going to be tanking, I think that this one's probably going to be better, as it's a lot of burst damage that AoEs everyone in there. So if you can grab 2 or 3 people, then you can really blow up like their whole team with an engage. I also think if you're tanking, then maybe the Wrath might be better, purely because it's a better CC and a better setup for a good team fight. But Angelic Armaments is still very good, and I still really like it. I can't beat a Malthael too easily on my own, as he can step in and out of fights really easy. Without popping my ult and everything, it's going to be a really hard time to take him out. So I decided to just leave. I do also have a nuke, so I want to find a way how to get a nuke in a place that I want it to be at. I don't know if I'm just going to put it mid, or where exactly I'm going to put it. Looks like I'm going to be ganking bot lane. I did get the... So I am going the build that I explained. The roots, if I remove a root or slow, I get healed. I get a lower cooldown on my E, and I will be picking up the armor because I am solo tanking. So you will see me pick up this this armor. Now I just defend him while he's getting this nuke. And I believe we both go and nuke this. So I nuke it, and then he waits a little bit, and then we end up getting a weird fight. And I think he goes back and nukes it later. It's kind of hard to nuke it while there's an Imperius around, because Imperius can just simply use its Q and stop us. I don't want to be caught in the Q that he's probably going to use right here. So you see I take a step back, and I wait until he charges in first, and then I go in afterwards to stun him. And it just makes it a little bit nicer. I immediately pop my ult here, as I see that this fight is going to go pretty favorably for us. So not only will I probably take a couple hits and save that damage for my team, but I also might get the opportunity to throw all my swords at someone and take them out. So right here I get my swords, and what I should have done with these swords is just destroy this turret, but instead I believe I go for the Ariel. And I hit her with quite a lot of damage, but it's not enough. I then reposition myself to where I can instantly land a Q onto this enemy Imperius. And then we go in, land a Q, get a lot of damage off, and finish him off, while also going in and trying to take the Ariel out. But a lot of the E ended up hitting the turret, and I ended up dying for it. We're going to fast forward through my death. And I go right back up top lane, pick up my nuke. I push out this wave using Holy Fervor. I destroy this, I nuke, and I go and kill that. I get chased by the enemy Imperius and do a quick dodge right before he uses his ultimate ability. Now, the servers are a little weird, so there's a good chance there was a delay, but it's just a little bit of a juke. You didn't really see, I was walking up this direction the whole time as he was charging it, and then I used my Q at the last minute, and then he fired everything. Because of the delay, it looked like I just got lucky, but it was a juke. We take him out. And I don't like popping my ult outside of fights. I know a lot of people, this is going to be kind of a bait for this ult a lot of times, is to use the ult just to charge up his damage and hope that you land the damage on someone who's running away. I think that the shield is a very important piece of this. I think the damage is cool, but it's easily dodged, and it's just not as powerful as people think. It's just a cool side effect. I think his shield is where the major piece of it is. A low cooldown, high health shield is huge. It's pretty much an avatar. Just an avatar that doesn't last as long, but it's about the same amount of health as avatar is, so. I did end up missing a Q there. A lot of damage goes off. We take out the enemy Imperius, and we kind of go into fight. I use my Q, stun him, should be able to be a kill. I could be popping my ult here as well to finish off some of these kills. But again, one of the things I mentioned was that I didn't use my ult enough in this. There's a few major pieces that I've learned pretty early on by playing him, is that one, I need to take a step back between from a Q before I use a Q. Every time that I'm trying to Q someone that's melee range, I need to take a step back. The next thing is I need to get a lot better at landing my W to where I get my quest completed faster. And finally, I need to be using my ult more often, especially with a 60-second cooldown ult. And then another thing that I need to be doing, so here's an ult right here that I use, and then I charge in, and the ult actually breaks, so I didn't get the second portion. And I'm perfectly okay with that. And my reason why I'm okay with that is because if they blow a 2,000 health shield in 2 seconds, that means that that's 2,000 damage that doesn't go onto my Kael'thas, which is in a very aggressive position. So if I can survive all of that, then that's huge for my team. But overall, he's just kind of a bully. I mean, I don't think that he's much of a tank. He doesn't have as much peel. I can understand why they want him a bruiser and not a main tank. He certainly can main tank, but he definitely doesn't have as much peel or as much capabilities as a lot of the other ones do, and he is really brutal in the solo lane. And he's just scary. He feels a lot like many of the other solo laners that you can kind of just walk in, CC people, but overall you're just kind of being annoying to the enemies. And then we end off the game right here and finish it off. I did end up going the armor because I was solo tanking, and you could see I was very hard to kill in the late game. Almost impossible to kill in the late game, honestly. And to go over the last talent of the build, I will just back out and I'll show you guys what talent I was going to pick up. And this kind of explains a little bit of the Imperius gameplay. So let me bring up Imperius really quickly, and I will show you. Level 20 talents, I would have been picking up Heavenly Host to give a 600 shield, which it's closer to like 1300 at level 20. So a 1300 shield to everyone, and then they all get the little swords that fire out. As cool as the Hearthstone and jumping back to people is, I wouldn't be picking that talent. Impervious seems pretty cool, but you're already really hard to kill, and you're not as affected by CC as like a Urel is, so I don't think the Unstoppable is as important as giving your entire team a shield. So if they attack you, you've got a giant shield. If they attack anyone on your team, they've got shields. So no matter where they attack, you're there. But I think if I was solo laning, I'd be getting Melting Touch. And in every other scenario, the Sovereign Armor makes you unkillable if you're going to be main tanking. But overall, this is the build that I kind of just like. I was seeing some people get some success with a Q there and a Q there, where they would W in and Q two people, and it would do a huge chunk of damage. But overall, I think that, I mean, there is also another variation of a build where you pick up the Valorous Brand heals, you pick up the extra attack speed here and the lower cooldown here, and what happens is you have your E going, you attack really fast, which means that you're also getting healed really fast because every strike is healing you. So, and you're doing the bonus damage really fast because you're getting the bonus damage from your E, which then is making your next auto attack do 30% more damage. You're attacking faster, so you're auto attacking much more. So that is one possible build where you charge in with a crit damage, and then you follow up by doing repeated very quick auto attacks. And that may be more of a bully build late game, or more of just a bully build in general, against your enemy laner, depending on the laner. So I think that there may be 2 to 3 builds that are really good on him, and we're just gonna have to wait and see. But overall, I think that he plays pretty strong. He's a huge punisher if the enemies make a mistake. You diving into combat, he doesn't really have any escape, so you don't really have the capability to just dive in whenever you want to. Your escape is also your engage, so it's pretty risky in that sense. However, if the enemies make a mistake, you can easily dive in and punish them very quickly with a lot of damage. So that is Imperius. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully you enjoy when he releases.